Mm. Can you see this presentation
Yes,
slides?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so let's start with today's topic. Today I'm going to teach you about Hadoop ecosystem components. Okay, let me see. So today we're going to learn about Hadoop ka ecosystem components. Means till now we were studying about Hadoop core components. Core components means these are the necessary components which are required to run Hadoop and to work with Hadoop. Okay, so these are the necessary components, and we can do the programming by using any language such as Java or Python, MapReduce programming. Okay, using MapReduce APIs. Okay, have you understood till now? We have studied about big data and Hadoop, Hadoop ka core components. Okay, and what are the four core components? Common libraries, HDFS, MapReduce, and Yarn. Okay, so these are the four main core components. And if we are working with this such system of core components, then we have to write the program using Java or Python and MapReduce programming using MapReduce ka APIs. But that programming takes time, like it is tedious programming where you have to initialize, configure so many things, and it's a big code. Okay, so but it is a Hadoop core system. Okay, so I'll just say again, Hadoop core components are, there are four components: common libraries, HDFS, MapReduce, and Yarn. And basic Hadoop programming can be done with the help of Java or Python with this MapReduce framework. Okay, now this is open source developed by Apache. So people are contributing and everyone is creating the component, and these components are getting added. And we are having some new components which help us to write the programs in a convenient manner. Okay, so these components are called as ecosystem components. So my objective is a small objective for today's lecture. Then tomorrow we are going to start with NoSQL databases, NoSQL databases, that is non-structured for storing unstructured data. Okay, so today we are learning about ecosystem components and limitations of Hadoop. Okay, we'll revisit the limitations, and then this chapter will get over. Okay, second chapter from your textbook. Okay, in the exam, if I see these are the questions which are asked in the exam, and most of the time there is a 10 marks question that is asked on Hadoop ecosystem, where you need to draw the diagram and you need to explain the function of each and every component. Okay, it is not in depth. Yeah, we are not studying this ecosystem components in depth. Okay, but in practicals we will study that. So this is a diagram of a Hadoop ecosystem where there are so many components, and you need to explain all these components, and this question is there for the 10 marks. Okay, so as per the depth of the syllabus, we can say that you should know the meaning of each and every term, each and every component, and you just need to write down some one paragraph about each and every component, what is its function and how it works. Okay, that's all. Okay, so you don't the scope is limited. We are not studying scope as a tool in detail, or we are not studying flume as a tool in detail in today's lecture. We are just having the introduction of this diagram and the meaning of each and every component, and such kind of question is asked for many times for 10 marks in the exam. Okay, so I think you have understood today's objective. Today's objective is to know this diagram of Apache Hadoop ecosystem and to know the meaning of each and every component. Okay, so if you observe this diagram, this is a core component. HDFS is a core component, which is at the base. So whatever you are doing in this Hadoop ecosystem, everything is finally in the form of HDFS. All the data, big data, is stored in the form of HDFS in the form of chunks distributed across the cluster. On the top of HDFS, MapReduce is there. That so these two topics we have studied. These two components we have studied. MapReduce version 2, where the components of MapReduce are the mapper and reducer and task tracker and job tracker are there, and they help you to do the task. There is Yarn also, and Yarn will allocate the resources and it will do the scheduling of the jobs. Okay, so this is a core part of your Hadoop, which is also in the ecosystem. So this is HDFS, MapReduce and Yarn. This is done. Now we're going to see this component. So if we start from this left side, this Flume and Scoop, these are the tools to collect the data into your system. Okay, so you can directly use the HDFS command to store your data in your system, or you can use one of these tools, like multiple tools are there. Okay, this diagram, these components are not limited. You can go on seeing multiple diagrams on the net, but as per our scope of the syllabus, we are considering this particular diagram with this many tools. So there are some other tools also. So this Flume and Scoop, these are the data collection tools to get the data from external sources and store it into the HDFS. So finally, everything is stored in the form of HDFS. But these are the tools to collect the data from variety of sources. So Flume is one of the tool. Even it blog or web logs from websites, the log is generated. So all this data is collected easily with the help of Flume. Scoop is the tool for data exchange. So if you have already a data warehousing system where you have RDBMS tables, and if you want to transfer this RDBMS into HDFS or HDFS into RDBMS, this tool helps you in performing data exchange. Okay, then there is a Zookeeper. Zookeeper is available in all the layers. Okay, if we see that there are three layers here: the basic layer of HDFS for storage, then for processing MapReduce layer is there, and on the top of MapReduce some other tools are there. So these tools finally convert everything in the form of mapper and reducer. Okay, in yesterday's lecture I told you about mapper and reducer, that programmer has to write mapper and reducer. So this is little tedious task to write a mapper class and reducer class, and in Java so it becomes very complicated code. In Python it is little easy to write. So on the top of this MapReduce, these tools are created. So we don't have to worry about converting everything in the form of mapper and reducer. This conversion will be done inside this tools. So they will convert into mapper and reducer, and that will be used and stored and processed. Okay. So this is the basic layer is for storage. On the top of that, there is a processing layer, and on the top of that, these tools are there, which will convert everything in the form of mapper and reducer. Okay, so the Zookeeper is available across all the layers. The Zookeeper is available across all the layers, and this performs the coordination operation. Like, it is a distributed system, and there are multiple nodes, and nodes are also wants to communicate with each other, or these components wants to communicate with each other. So it takes care about the coordination of all the components of your Hadoop ecosystem. So Zookeeper is keeping track and allowing us to write the distributed applications easily. Okay, then there is something called as a Oozie, which will help us to create a workflow. Then Pig is there to write the scripting. So this is a processing. Workflow will decide about your application, that how it should be executed, which task is to be executed for the first time, then after that. So you can decide about this task and the workflow of your application, and you can create a diagram, and you can submit it to the system so that all the tasks will be executed in that particular sequence. Then Pig and Hive, these are the tools to process this data. Okay, so you can write the script using Pig, or uh, you can visualize your HDFS data in the form of a data warehouse with the help of Hive. And Hive has the corresponding query language called as HiveQL, with the help of which we can do the query operations like our RDBMS. Okay, so this provide you convenience to operate with your distributed data. Okay, so Mahout is a library where ready-made algorithms are there to classify, cluster, or recommend, and then we can use these library functions on top of MapReduce. And to visualize our data, to analysis in the form of graphs or diagrams, there is something called as RConnect. There is HBase also. HBase is a columnar database of Hadoop, where your data is stored in the form of a table, which is a column oriented table. So you can extract the entire column. And Ambari is for administration. So Ambari and Zookeeper, they work together, and Ambari is for like monitoring of the Hadoop cluster, provide something or manage. All these things are done by. Matlab it is an administrator for your entire cluster. Okay, so let's see. Just revise it again once more. First, the basic component is HDFS to store the data in a distributed fashion. On the top of that, there is a distributed processing framework. Mm, that is a yarn framework. Then to collect the data from external sources, Flume and Scoop is there. Zookeeper will keep track of coordination between all the cluster elements and components. HBase is a columnar database where you can extract the information column wise. Ambari is overall administrator of the entire cluster, and Pig and Hive, they help us to do the processing on the data. Oozie can, with the help of Oozie, you can decide about the workflow of the task to be executed. Mahout provide you the machine learning library functions, and R connector let you visualize your analysis in the form of graphs. Okay, so these are the components. So in the exam, they just ask for 10 marks, nothing else. You need to draw the diagram, explain all the components properly so that you get 10 marks. Okay, now why these components are developed? Because in case of HDFS, your data is stored in the sequence. It is a batch processing, and data is stored in terms of blocks, and the blocks are read sequentially. So you are having a sequential access for the data. So it may take time, and so the on the top of this HDFS, some tools are developed to provide you the random access to the data and to save the time. Okay, so that's why these techniques and these tools are developed, because your access to the data is a sequential access, and it takes time to get the data. Okay, so the first tool is about Flume. So Flume is a tool for data integration in HDFS. It helps you to get the data into the HDFS from multiple sources. For example, from web servers where the clickstream analysis is done. I told you in the first lecture about clickstream analysis that each and every click that you perform on the website is recorded. So such data is can be collected from Flume into HDFS. Plus, there are some log files, like lots of logs are created in the web server. So log files are in the form of text that also you can analyze. Or for the events such as network traffic or social media events or email messages. So anything can be stored into HDFS with the help of Flume. So Apache Flume is a tool for data injection in HDFS, and it is highly reliable and distributed. It is also distributed application, master slave or distributed application, or and but it is reliable. Like you get reliable data integrity is there. Okay, now here these are the components of Flume. These are the we are not studying in detail how to execute the Flume, how to install, and exactly how to write the program, but we need to know some architecture, small level architecture, where there are three elements. Like whatever is happening is called as an event. So single packet of data which is passed through the system is called as event. Whatever, like from the web server, single packet of data which is transferring through the system and entering into the HDFS is called as an event. Okay, so in log file terminology, the event can be the line of the log file. In a file, the line of the text is called as an event, followed by a new line character. So the entire line with the new line character is called as an event that is passing through this entire architecture of Flume through the Flume agent, and it is stored into HDFS. That is called as an event. So in this event, these are the components which are there: source, channel, and sink. So source is the component which is accepting the data from the channel. Okay, it is accepting the data from the streamline or web server or a log file. And channel is the intermediate storage. It acts as a buffer, because this read operation is always faster than the write operation. So reading from the source is faster than writing from the source. So in order to adjust all this speed and everything, this is an intermediate buffer where the data which is read into is stored for some time. So it is a temporary storage. And then sync is the last component which collects the data from channel, and it converts or do some operation on that, and it stores that in the form of blocks into HDFS. Okay, so I think this was very easy. The first component, it is a data loading tool into the HDFS. Data can be collected from a source such as web server, log file, network, social media, and it is transferred. And one particular data packet transfer is called as an event. Source is collecting the data, channel is for storing it for temporary amount of time. It acts as a buffer, and sync is going to write the data into HDFS. Okay, so the reading and writing ka speed is not same. That's why channel is required. Okay, so this is very easy to remember and write. Okay, you just remember the diagram, you'll be able to write it. The next topic is about Scoop. This is a logo. Scoop is a tool that will transfer your RDBMS data into HDFS, or HDFS data into RDBMS or HBase or Hive. Okay, so it is a data transfer tool. Mainly, it is doing SQL to Hadoop and Hadoop to SQL. But you can even convert any data into some other RDBMS data, like your Hive data or HBase data can also be converted into RDBMS format. And RDBMS means Oracle, MySQL or DB2. You can perform import and export operations on the data. Okay, so the import, so this is a high level architecture for a Scoop, where the import and export tools are there in Scoop. Import will import the individual tables into HDFS. And whenever you are considering a table of RDBMS, the row in the table is acting as a record into HDFS. Okay, and all the records are stored as a text data or in the form of a text file. Everything, whatever is there in RDBMS, is stored in the form of a text file, or it can be stored in the form of a binary data such as Avro type of file, or sequence files like key and value pair. Okay, then there is export tool. That export tool will export the set of files from HDFS back to RDBMS. So the file contains record, and a record will be the row into the table. The file is a table into RDBMS, and the record of the file is a row into the table. Okay, so this is the second tool for data conversion from SQL to Hadoop, Hadoop to SQL, and it performs two different operations: import and export. Import will import the data from RDBMS into Hadoop system, and export will export the data from Hadoop to RDBMS system. Okay, and while doing this import export operation, the row is called as a record of a file, and a file is a table. Okay, so any doubts in this? So we can go to move to the next tool, that is a storage management tool, table storage management tool. So it is also with respect to the data only. That is called as H catalog, that I have not shown in the diagram. Okay. So this H catalog is a tool which is performing some storage management for Hadoop. It will expose the tabular data of Hive Metastore to Hadoop applications. Like you have a Hive to perform or to visualize your HDFS in the form of a data warehouse, and some metadata information is there in the Metastore of Hive. So it will it will expose this tabular metadata store information available to other Hadoop applications. Like these are the applications or data, like you can do the program, you can write the Pika script, or you can write the MapReduce program, or you can write a Hive query, or you can use a Kafka tool such as a streaming tool, and you give the command. And this H catalog will is an intermediary between the actual data, which is stored in the form of a text file or sequence file, or blocks or RC file in the HDFS. Okay, so it is a storage management tool, and it will make available the metadata information to some other applications. So it ensures that users don't have to worry about in which format the data is stored. Okay, and it is an intermediary tool to to help uh, in between the various components of ecosystem. Okay, and the actual data. This is the actual data. Actual data is stored in the form of a text file or RC file, or sequence file means key and value pair file, or there can be any other custom format. So your data is in this format, and your Hive is also having is allowing you to visualize this data in the form of a data warehouse. So metadata information is also there with Hive. So it is a tool in between this Hive and the actual data storage management tool. So which allows you to help in storing or retrieving the data. Okay, so now the third tool is called as a pig, which helps you to write the scripts onto the uh, big data. Okay, so it is a runtime environment tool or platform that helps you to analyze this big data. So mostly you are going to work with pig or hive when you are working with big data nowadays. Okay, we are not MapReduce programming. Also you can do, but pig and script help you in writing the analytics programs. Okay, what is the advantage of pig is that it uses a multi-query approach and it reduces the length of the code. For example, if you are writing a Java code or Python code, you may be having suppose 200 lines of MapReduce code. So you that same work you can do by writing only 10 lines in pig. So pig is like a big help to the programmer, and it will help you to analyze this big data. So to do this analysis, there are two components of pig. The language called as a high level language called as pig Latin language, uh, and the pig engine. Okay, so this pig engine will accept this scripts which are written in pig Latin language, and it will convert them into MapReduce job. Okay, finally everything is going to converted is will be converted into MapReduce, and the data is in the HDFS format in the form of a file. So pig is a tool that will allow you to analyze this big data, and it has two components. Pig Latin is a language where you can, with the help of this language, you can write the script, and engine is there, pig engine is there, which will convert your scripts into MapReduce, which will operate on the HDFS data. Okay, but from end user point of view, you can visualize your HDFS data like a data warehouse, or you can analyze it. Okay, data warehouse is for Hive, but pig will allow you to analyze this big data by writing the scripts, and the scripts are written using pig Latin language, and you have a pig engine which will convert the script into MapReduce format, which will operate on the HDFS data. And it is very convenient because it helps you to write down the code in a convenient way. Only a few lines of code you have to write, which will perform the job for you, because it is automated. Your script is converted into MapReduce by the engine, and it is faster also. Okay, the development time for writing your program is faster, and it is almost 16 times fast to write the script or program. Okay, even it supports the data operations like join, filtering, or ordering, etc. on this HDFS data. HDFS data is in the form of a file. Everything is converted into a file, and in the form of blocks it is stored. So this pig will also perform because of the script. You can perform join, filter. You can filter the data. You can perform join operations. You can join to different files, or you can perform ordering, group by, sorting. Everything can be is possible. Then it also provides you the nested data types such as tuples, bags, maps. So for semi-structured data, maps are used, and you can do the scripting. Okay, pig is more flexible than hive. Pig is more flexible compared to hive. I just wanted to show you this diagram. This is referred from the site Edureka. Here, whatever the pig scripts you write, it is submitted to the pig engine. In the pig engine, you have the parser, optimizer, compiler, and it is going to convert it into MapReduce, and MapReduce will operate on this HDFS data. Okay, so this way, this is already I told you, but with respect to the diagram, you can remember this. Okay. Now, this is one example where a Twitter database is there and you want to analyze this Twitter database. So, analysis is done with the help of pig. Twitter database has two tables, user table and Twitter table. and they are stored into HDFS. Okay, by using any way, like you store this information, like you are using a tool such as Flume or Scoop, you convert your database RDBMS and you store it in the HDFS format. Okay, so a big data is stored here in HDFS format, which is not possible to store on a single machine. Now, once this is the storage part. Okay, I told you that analysis is having two steps. First step is to store the data, and then the second step is to process the data. So here, if you are using a pick tool, the data is brought into the cluster and it is stored in HDFS in the form of a text file using a particular tool such as the Flume or Scoop, or by writing some commands, HDFS commands. Okay. Now, then it will be loaded into whenever you're working with Pig, it will be loaded into the Pigka framework. These tables will be loaded into Pigka framework, and then user can execute a query such as co-group on this both the tables, and and it will be stored in the form of a bag by studying both the tables depending on your query. This type of bag will be created for all the IDs, and then the this is a mapper job. If you visualize it in the form of a mapper and reducer, this is something a mapper operation on these tables, and this is something called as a reducer operation. Okay, so it is in the pick tables, it is brought into the pick tables and converted into bag, and then with the help of aggregate kind of functions, you get the final results, and then that final results can also be stored into HDFS format. Okay, so this is happening in the pick framework or pick server. Okay, so any doubt on this? So pick is a tool to perform analysis of a big data, and it has a scripting language called as Pig Latin. It has a engine which will convert your scripts into MapReduce kind of jobs. It helps you to write the program, very easy to write. Some few lines of code is there. Plus, it allows you to perform the operations such as join, filter, ordering, and it uses a data type such as bag or map or tuples, like a RDBMS, similar to RDBMS. And this is an example just to visualize how Pig is working for the Twitter database. Okay, so this was about Pig. The next tool is called as a Hive. Hive is a data warehouse system for your HDFS or Hadoop. Okay, it is built on the top of HDFS and it is used to analyze the structured, semi-structured data. Uh, it hides all the complexities of MapReduce, similar to Pig. Okay, so now it has a language called as Hive Query Language, Hive HQL. That is a Hive query language, and you can perform the queries like SQL statements. Like we are used to performing or writing. Like there are so many RDBMS programmers, and if they want to work with Hadoop system, then they will see that they will say that okay, here there is no SQL, so it's very difficult to work with such kind of systems. So they came up with a tool called as a Hive, and they allowed the RDBMS users to work with such kind of system by providing Hive QL language where you can fire the queries similar to RDBMS. Okay, so finally these queries are converted into MapReduce jobs by Hive compiler. So you have a Hive compiler which will convert these queries into MapReduce jobs. So here you are this is a Hive compiler. It uses the metadata information and it converts the queries into a MapReduce job, means a mapper program and reducer program, which will be executed in parallel on this Hadoop cluster. Okay, even you can perform the statements such as DDL statements to create the tables so data definition language and data manipulation language. So select statements can be select query can be executed, create table is executed, update table can be done, or you can even write down the functions on your tables. Okay, so it is a data warehouse infrastructure tool and it helps you in summarizing, querying, analyzing your big data in a easy manner. Okay, and it even allows you to write the functions.
Ma'am,
Yeah. Yes.
Abhishek had a question.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me what is the question, that what kind of queries does big pig handle then? like Hive handles RDBMS. Yeah, Pig can do the analysis. So, but your queries are written in the form of a script, and Pika script is submitted to the system. Pika script is submitted to the system, and you can analyze the data. Okay, like uh, I, I have created one slide also to show the difference between Hive and Pig. Here in the example of a Pig. Such kind of queries are there, that user group is equal to co-group tweet table by user ID and user table is ID. So joining query. So it is also a query. Hive also provides you a query language, but uh, there is some difference in a query and a script. So like you are working with the JavaScript and you can write some small statements together. So like this, you can combine multiple queries together in the form of a script. Finally, it is going to do the analysis, and Hive is also doing the Hive is allowing you to see your big data in the form of a data warehouse, and on that data warehouse you can fire the query using HiveQL. Okay, but in case of Pig, you can write the script. You can combine multiple queries, or you can write the script and submit the script. Both the tools will help you in analyzing the data. Okay. So I'll show you one slide and then I'll ask you that whether your doubt is clear or not. Okay. I have created one slide where I'm just comparing both the tools. Okay. Otherwise, both the tools are giving you the analysis of your big data. Fine. Hmm. Okay. So um, Hive provides you the HiveQL language, and you can fire the query on this big data, and the Hive compiler will convert your query into MapReduce program, which will be operating on the cluster, and it will return the results which will be shown to the end user. Okay. So it provides you everything like create table, update table, or rename, or select query, or you can write the function. And when you are comparing your RDBMS and HDFS, your tables are represented as a directory, or which is divided into partitions and buckets. So maybe the bucket is a data item, and the partition is a row, and table means your directory. Such kind of some architecture is used to store your tables into HDFS. Okay, so it is designed for OLAP kind of operations. It is scalable also, extensible, and the scripts, custom scripts can be plugged into queries. It supports MapReduce custom scripts plugged into query. मतलब for a particular query, you can have a multiple MapReduce ka scripts converted by Hive compiler. Hive compiler will convert into your queries into the MapReduce custom scripts. Okay. But it is not performing any real-time queries. Okay. You can just see this diagram also. Here, there are three layers in Hive when you are working with Hive. Okay. I'm going to ask you to do the programs in your practicals using Hive. Okay. That time, whenever you are doing Hive, you will learn more with Hive. So we will have some. We will again revisit the topic in one of the lectures where we are going to learn how to do the this programming in the lab, BDA lab. Okay. Initially, for the first time, when I taught the subject, we did all the practicals using MapReduce, using Java or Python. But it is becoming hectic, and now the tools are available. So I have decided that we will do the practicals by using Pig or Hive. Okay, so why to go and learn the old technology? This is a recent technology which is used outside. So Hive, Pig, and Spark. These three tools are there which I have decided that you have to learn. And practically, you have to implement your analysis, and you have to do the mini project by using Hive or Pig or Spark. Okay, so here in case if we are looking at this Hive, then there are three layers. Okay, this is your HDFS layer, or your data is in the form of HBase. On the top of that, your Hive execution engine is there, and Hive query language processing engine is also there, like this combination of both. And this is your data, like input is coming from enter web, or through Hive command, or it can be through some other program, and this input is provided to your Hive query, and it is processed here, converted into MapReduce, At the same time, it interacts with the Metastore also. Okay, so this Metastore is a central repository for storing all Hive metadata information. All the metadata information, because your data is in HBase format or HDFS format, and if you're firing a query and you have to visualize it in the form of a table, so the metadata information is stored in the Metastore, which will help this execution engine to make you visualize that it is a data base ka table on which you are working. Okay, so it plays a big role here. It is a central repository for storing all Hive metadata information. You are storing the schema of the table, metadata table information in RDBMS, and it helps you to perform, helps this engine to perform read and write operations. Okay, so this way, these are the some of the things which are there. So we have not studied Hive in detail. We have just done the introduction about Hive when we are understanding about the eco components. Okay. So let's see it again. It will help you to visualize your Hadoop cluster or your Hadoop ka information, HDFS information in the form of a data warehouse to the end user. End user can submit the Hive query in the form of HQL, and that query will be submitted to Hive compiler, which will convert it into MapReduce jobs, which will operate on the Hadoop ka cluster. Finally, the everything is in the form of a text file in Hadoop, and you can submit the commands such as create table or select table kind of queries can be submitted. Okay, then so. Here in the slide, can you read the slide? Because here the some of the text is in small font size. Okay, here this left hand side is for the Hive and the right hand side is for the pig. Okay, and we are comparing both of them. Okay, so here Hive uses a declarative kind of language called as HiveQL, where pig is using the scripting language, which is a procedural data flow. Okay, so the difference here is it is a query kind of language, but declarative language, and here it is a procedural data flow, means you can write in sequence multiple instructions or statements or multiple queries in the procedural format. So it is a script, not a combination of multiple statements, but here it is a query language. So it is mostly used by the data analyst, HiveQL, but pig is used by researchers and programmers to write some program or to do some research. Then in case of HiveQL, your data, it is used for structured data. You get the presentation in the form of structure. And here it is a structure and semi-structure both. Here the schema is not optional, but here the schema is optional for pig. Like it should be visualized in the form of a table. So metadata information about it is required in the form of schema. Okay, then Hive component operates on the server side of the cluster, while pig component operates on the client side of the cluster. So it is uh, this way it is in difference. Hive is helpful in ETL operations. Pig itself is an ETL tool to big data. Okay, so then you can say that it supports this Avro file, but in case of HiveQL, it is usually it is not supporting. And this Hive is a tool developed by Facebook, and Pig is a tool that is developed by Yahoo. Okay. So Yahoo came up with this Pig scripts, and they then made it as an open source tool. And Facebook also then released after some time Hive as an open source tool to be used by some other people. Okay, I think now somewhat it is clear. That Hive is a declarative language with in the form of a query, but Pig is a procedural data flow. Like you can write a small scripting program on your data, but finally both are doing the analysis. Okay, and here it is structured, semi-structured is also allowed in case of Pig. Plus it is itself a tool for big data, but here Hive is a is helpful for performing operation of ETL. So, so, so Abhishek, have you understood somewhat? Is your like what kind of queries does Pig handle then? Like Hive handles RDBMS. Okay. So we'll move on to the next tool, that is Zookeeper. So Zookeeper is available at all the layers. It is an open source distributed coordination service. Like it is a distributed architecture or distributed application. If it is a distributed application, then there are lots of problems are there. Like your naming of all the entities should be a global naming should be there. Or if it is data sharing is happening in between two programs, then you have to take care about rest conditions or synchronization should be there. So for a distributed application, you need lots of coordination between the components or between the programs, okay, or between the machines. So it will help in performing this coordination among multiple hosts, or and it provides the synchronization techniques. So it provides a coherent view of the multiple machines. It is itself a distributed application. It is also, Zookeeper is not running on a single machine. It is itself a distributed application, and it helps us to store and maintain the configuration information about the cluster, naming of all the components understood by each and every one, or it is providing synchronization among the components. So, and then there is something called as Z node, which allows the distributed processes to coordinate with each other, and to identify the region server. Okay, so basically, when we just want to say that Zookeeper is helping us to perform the coordination among all the elements of the cluster. Okay, and it can run in a pseudo mode or standalone mode. So, if your cluster is in the standalone mode, HBase itself will act as a Zookeeper. Okay, in real world, real cluster Zookeeper will be running as a distributed service on multiple machines. But if your cluster is created in the standalone mode, like if you're working in the college lab with a single machine acting as a cluster where name node, data node is created on the same machine, then your HBase is acting as a Zookeeper. Then it is not a separate service. Okay, so we are not going into the details of Zookeeper. Just remember that Zookeeper is an open source distributed coordination service among multiple hosts in the cluster, and it provides a synchronization among them, and it provides a single view of multiple machines to anyone. Okay, then Uzi is a open source Java application. It is a job coordinator and workflow manager for the job. Like as a analyzer, or if you're working with your big data, and if you have a sequence of actions to be performed, you can create a workflow of sequence of operations and submit it by using Uzi. So it will such kind of it can be represented in the form of such kind of diagrams, such as directed acyclic graph. This is called as a directed acyclic graph. All your jobs can be represented in the form of this graph, where this particular, I suppose I want to perform the Hive job first, and then I want to perform the shell command or pick command in parallel, and then I want to take a decision. On the basis of the decision, a command is executed or a Hive job is executed. Okay, so this is my requirement. Hello. Okay, so this is my requirement, that in my application as an analyst, I want to perform a Hive job, then I want to perform shell job and pick job, which can be executed in parallel. After both the jobs are over, I want to take a decision. On the basis of the decision, either shell job should be executed or Hive job should be executed. So instead of doing this separately, what I can do is that I can create a workflow with the help of OZ, and then submit it to the system. So now it is a job of OZ to check that whether the job is over, with what is the output. The output of the first job is input to the next job, and it will take care of everything. Okay, so Uzi detects the completion of the task by using callback and polling mechanism. So it will do the callback mechanism, or it will continuously do the polling operation to check that whether the job is over, whether the job is over. Okay. So I think this is also very easy to remember. It is a job coordinator and workflow manager for the job to be executed. You create a graph kind of thing such as a direct acyclic graph, and you specify what jobs are to be executed in sequence, what jobs are to be executed in parallel, and what kind of jobs you have to execute. It can be a shell job like HDFS command job, or it can be a hive job or pick job, or a scoop job, and they can be executed, or they can be mentioned to be executed. And once it is submitted, Uzi is there. It is going to take care that whether the job is over, first job is over, now start the second job, and the output of first job is the input to the second job, and it performs all these operations using callback mechanism and calling. Okay, so this is only this about Uzi. Then Mahout is a machine learning library. Learning library is also scalable. It is also a scalable library. And what you can perform, like Mahout is the word in Sanskrit or Marathi, like who drives an elephant as a master. So your big data is the logo for the big data is an elephant, and to drive this elephant you need a Mahout. So that's why they've given the name as Mahout to the machine learning libraries, because machine learning libraries also help you to do the and to get the insights from your data. Or you can perform some operations such as classification, clustering, frequent item set mining, like what are the two different items which are occurring simultaneously at the same time. So frequently occurring items that you want to find out in a big data, or then you want to perform recommendations. So all these libraries functions are available with the help of Mahout, which you can execute and customize. And the HBase is the columnar database. Hello, HBase is a columnar database. We are in NoSQL. I'm going to teach you HBase in detail. Okay, right now, so as because the time is getting over, just we'll go quickly through the HBase. HBase is a column-oriented database. It is a quick random access. It provides you the random access. Okay, it provides you the quick. Uh, what Abhishek you are saying? Third point made it clear about
About the comparison, ma'am. You had shown the comparison between
third. Okay, okay.
pig and hive.
Third point. Okay, so just see about HBase. HBase is a column-oriented database. You can fire the query to extract the column, and this can be the structure for the table. We will see HBase in detail in one lecture of NoSQL. Right now, you just see that because it is as a part of your ecosystem component. Your table is a collection of rows here. In case of HBase, and a row has a collection of column families. So this is a column family, like it is a customer table where there is customer ID, customer name and city or country, and the product name and price. So by looking at this table, this second and third column is with respect to the customer, and this fourth and fifth column is with respect to the product. So these are combined together in a column family. So there is a column family called as customer. In your table, there is a column family customer, and the column family has multiple columns with respect to that customer. And here the column family is product, and with respect to that, there are multiple columns. Now, what happens is that the data which is there in a column family is stored in a sequential manner in the cluster. But data which is there in two different column families is not stored continuously. So the access within the columns, access for the column within the column family is a sequential access. But you can access the entire column family in a random fashion. Okay, means you can extract the entire customer column. Okay, so and it can be accessed with respect to ID. So ID is a primary key which is always needed. So we'll see this in detail afterwards. Okay, so yeah, for your doubt, The third point is about the data used for structured data and used for semi-structured and structured data both. So like here, Hive is strictly for the RDBMS kind of, like it will give you strictly RDBMS view. But here through PIC you can get or you can operate on the structured as well as semi-structured information. Both the types of data is allowed.
Yes, ma'am. He meant that the his doubt was clarified once he saw this image and he understood the
Okay.
third point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, just see last May the so we are ending with the topic of Hadoop. From the next lecture, we're going to start with the new topic that is NoSQL databases. Okay. So just this is the last slide for today. So, what are the limitations of Hadoop that we have seen some in one of the lecture? But this is the proper answer for the question. If there is a question on Hadoop limitations. Okay, so the Hadoop cannot directly be mounted on existing operating system. Okay, so because with respect to the operating system directly operating with HDFS is little difficult. You need to do some lots of things to access, and then you get the prompt installation of Hadoop, and then mounting of the file, unmounting of the file. So it's not very easy to access the file in HDFS. You have to write the HDFS commands, and the file access can be provided through a command line interface or by using the languages. Uh, so this is also a tedious job. So you can consider it as a limitation. Then, as for the security concern, I told you that it is not encrypted format, but there is something called as a checksum for the storage of the block, and only authorization authentication is there. It is vulnerable because it is used by using a language Java. It is not fit for performing analysis for a small data. And the entire framework is developed by using Java. Nowadays, the hackers know each and everything about Java, so maybe it is not that it is vulnerable. And then there are it is open source, so sometimes the stability issues are there. Till your version is stable, it will take time. Okay, and Google has mentioned nowadays that this Hadoop is not only the solution for doing the analysis of big data, and they have come up with a new Google solution, another tool called as Cloud Data Flow. So you might have seen some of the advertisements, Google Cloud Flow, Data Flow, and there are lots of challenges which are happening on internet about Google Cloud Data Flow. Is also another tool similar to Hadoop. Okay, so we will stop now. Okay, so the next time we will see about NoSQL, the third chapter of your syllabus from your textbook.